after studying steel making fundamentals, now we can straight away go through steel making practice. So, now onwards the lecture will be comprising of modern steel making practice. Now, modern steel making practice, it comprises of say converter steel making, then electric arc furnace steel making, and a small portion of steel is also made in the so called IF, that is the induction furnaces. I will put it induction furnaces. The principal raw material in converter steel making is hot metal. The principal raw material in electric arc furnace is scrap. The principal raw material in induction furnace is also scrap. The proportion of crude steel production from converter steel making, it comprises of the order of 60 to 70% around the world, 30 to 35% from electric arc furnace, and around say 10% from induction furnace. In India, however, the proportion is slightly different. In the year 2006-2007, the proportion of converter steel making in total crude steel production was 44%. The proportion of electric arc furnace was 26%. However, the proportion of induction furnace in total crude steel production was very high, of the order of 30%. Anyway, this is just a data which I have given you. So, let us take first of all converter steel making. Take first of all converter steel making. At the moment we are talking of carbon steel making. We are talking say carbon steel making. Now, in the converter steel making, pure oxygen is blown from top, pure oxygen is blown from top through a multi-hole nozzle, nozzle shape is something like this. This is a vessel, this is a metal, and here centrally placed vertical lance, bottom is fitted with the multi-hole nozzles. This is number 1. Number 2, in another version, pure oxygen is blown from top, pure O2 is from top, and through bottom some inert gas is also injected, and that is called bottom stirring. So, here if I can show it, this is the lance which blows pure oxygen. Well, this is a refractory lined vessel, and through the bottom inert gas is injected. In still another version of converter steel making, oxygen is blown from top plus oxygen also from bottom, both versions, that is 2 and 3, they are called duplex blowing oblique hybrid blowing, and some also called top blowing oxygen and bottom stirred processes and top and bottom blowing processes. Still some another version, pure oxygen is blown through the bottom, pure O2 is blown through the bottom, Now, this particular, which is called bottom blown steel making, is hardly used in any part of the world. It is just a modified version of basic Bessemer process, where air was injected in 1878. Instead of air, in the modification, oxygen was introduced through the bottom, but as such bottom blowing steel making, pure bottom blowing steel making is not practiced to my knowledge. So, now if you note all these variations or all these versions of converter steel making, that some features are common. So, the common features are, in all versions, first is pear shaped converter is used. Pear shaped converter is used, that is second common feature is that oxygen is blown from top, blown through a lance which is fitted with multi-hole nozzles. So, this is the lance, this is a pear shaped vessel, of course, it is refractory lined, and third common feature is hot metal is the principal raw material. Hot metal is the principal raw material. So, whether we have pure top blown steel making or we have top and bottom blowing or so called hybrid blowing or duplex blowing processes, these three features, they are the common features in all the three processes. Now, let us see now the principal chemical reactions are. So, the principal chemical reaction are say Fe plus O, that is equal to FeO, then carbon plus O, that is equal to CO, Si plus 2O, that is equal to SiO2, then 2P plus 5O, that is equal to P2O5, carbon plus FeO, that is equal to CO plus Fe, Fe plus MnO, that is equal to FeO plus Mn. Now, note all these reactions, say reaction this iron oxidation, carbon oxidation, silicon oxidation, phosphorus oxidation, they are all exothermic in nature, and you must note that in all variations of converter steel making, no heat is supplied from outside. So, after noting these essential features, all these processes are called basic oxygen furnace processes, BOF, or basic oxygen steel making, BOS. These are the various names that you will find in different books. Now, in recent years, pre-treatment of hot metal has become in some plants a standard practice. The pre-treatment of hot metal means the hot metal which is tapped from the blast furnace, it is treated for silicon, sulfur and phosphorus content, and this practice of pre-treatment is used whenever it is required to produce high quality steels. For example, steels which require good surface finish, steels which require free from internal cracks, and in certain applications when sulfur and phosphorus content requirement is less than 0.01%. So, when on certain applications the chemical composition is so much restricted, then naturally the pre-treatment of hot metal, that is control of silicon, sulfur and phosphorus before hot metal is charged into the converter steel making is required to be done. So, as such, before we go with the details of modern steel making practice, I would like to give you a little information about the pre-treatment of hot metal. Pre-treatment of hot metal. That means, in various practices, hot metal from blast furnace directly charged into the converter. Now, the objective of pre-treatment is very clear: to reduce sulfur, phosphorus and silicon. As regards the thermodynamic condition for the removal of phosphorus and silicon, we have already seen earlier while dealing with the steel making fundamentals. What we have not seen over there is the thermodynamic condition for removal of sulfur, because we have said there that the steel making is done under oxidizing condition, and sulfur removal under oxidizing condition is very minimum, and at that point of time we have not considered the sulfur removal. But now, when we are considering pre-treatment of hot metal as a separate step, then to appreciate the requirements for sulfur removal, it has become necessary to understand how sulfur is removed. Now, first of all, removal of sulfur, this is called desulfurization, Now, certain important characteristic features of sulfur, that is sulfur, it exhibits negative deviation from Henry's law. What does it mean? Negative deviation means the sulfur has a strong tendency to form a compound like FeS. The bonds between FeS, that is bonds between FeS are very strong, and hence it is not easy to remove sulfur from hot metal unless some conditions are created. Number 3, the activity coefficient of sulfur increases with increase in carbon, silicon and phosphorus. Now, let us see what is a desulfurization reaction. I will put DES as a desulfurization. So, a desulfurization reaction. Now, first of all, desulfurization reaction is a slag metal reaction. The metal sulfur is present in the elemental form, whereas the slag sulfur is present in the ionic form. That means, transfer of sulfur from metal to slag requires the following steps. First, sulfur should be transported to the metal slag interface. There it should receive 2 electrons, so that it gets transferred to S2 minus ions. In order to maintain electron neutrality at the slag metal interface, a reverse transfer of ions should occur from the slag side to the metal. 2 electrons will be generated at the slag metal interface, and then sulfur will be converted to S2 minus. It will go into the slag, and the ionic species which gives ions, for example O2 minus, then O will transfer into the metal. So, this is what I am going to illustrate over a diagram. For example, if I take, so this is the slag metal interface, Now, let us see, sulfur is sitting somewhere here. When it will transfer over here, then the sulfur, it must have 2 electrons to be transported to S2 minus, then and then S2 minus can be transferred into the slag. So, this I will put as a slag and this as a metal. So, here there should be O2 minus ions, and these O2 minus ions, they are transported to slag metal interface on the slag side. That the transfer of sulfur from metal to slag is accompanied by transfer of oxygen from slag to metal. So, the same reaction I am going to write down now, S plus O2 minus, that is equal to S2 minus plus O. This is in the metal, this is in the slag, this is in the metal, and this is in the slag. So, if I write down the value of K, K will be equal to activity AS2 minus to wet percent O upon Fs to wet percent sulfur into activity of O2 minus. Now, a rearrangement of this equation in the form of the desulfurization ratio, we can put it, say A S2 minus upon wet percent sulfur, that is approximately equal to wet percent sulfur in slag upon wet percent sulfur in metal, that will be equal to K into Fs into activity of O2 minus upon wet percent O. Now, the same reaction you can also put it for in the molecular form, FES plus CaO, that is equal to CAS plus FeO. You can write down the value of K, you can arrange the variable such that you get on the left hand side a desulfurization ratio, for example like activity of CAS upon activity of FES, that is approximately proportional to wet percent sulfur in slag upon wet percent sulfur in metal, that will be equal to K into activity of CaO upon activity of FeO. This is what it can also be done like this. Now, what we can derive from this equation, the information for efficient desulfurization. First of all, the left hand side of the equation, that is wet percent sulfur in slag upon wet percent sulfur in metal, should be high. If it is high, then wet percent sulfur in metal will be low. So, in order this ratio should be high, in order the ratio of wet percent sulfur in slag upon wet percent sulfur to be high, K must be high. I write down the constant, high value of K high value of equilibrium constant, again high value of Fs, high value of Fs, then high value of activity of O2 minus ions, high value of activity of O2 minus ions in slag, and low value of wet percent O in metal. Similar information you can obtain from the molecular picture also, high value of K, high value of activity of CaO in slag, low activity of FeO in metal. Anyway, let us concentrate on this 1, 2, 3, 4 point. High value of K depends on temperature and accordingly temperature can be adjusted. High value of Fs, how high value of Fs can be obtained? Initially I have said that the presence of carbon, phosphorus and silicon increases the activity coefficient of sulfur, and therefore, the presence of carbon, silicon and phosphorus, they enhance the desulfurization. The third point is high value of activity of O2 minus ions. What does it mean? High value of activity of oxygen ions means you should have a highly basic slag. Now, you recall the definition of basicity on the basis of oxygen ions. There we have said it is the free oxygen ions that are important and that contributes to the basicity of slag. Fourth point is that low value of weight percent oxygen in metal. That means the highly reducing conditions are required for desulfurization. You also notice from the sulfur transfer equation that the sulfur transfer from metal to slag is accompanied by oxygen transfer from slag to metal, and that oxygen which is being transferred from slag to metal, it must be removed. That is why you require the reducing conditions also. About the removal of silicon and phosphorus we have already done. So, desulfurization, just summarizing, it required reducing condition, dephosphorization, oxidizing condition, and so is silicon also. Now, given this particular information, we know about the removal of sulfur, we know about the removal of silicon, we know about the removal of phosphorus. Now, this pre-treatment of hot metal now consists of treating the hot metal in the transfer vessel. Now, the reagents for pre-treatment soda ash, then soda ash plus sodium sulphate, calcium carbide and magnesium granules. Now, for your information, magnesium is a very strong desulfurizer. Now, these reagents can be added or they can be injected. Now, hot metal pre-treatment is carried out in transfer vessels. Now, you know that when hot metal is carried over to LD shop, then it is carried over in a torpedo ladle. Now, a torpedo ladle, it looks something this way. So, in a torpedo ladle, one acts here, for example, nitrogen injection along with the reagents. Sometimes scale is added to create an oxidizing atmosphere. So, this is the torpedo car. Now, this torpedo car, their capacity can be as high as 100 or 300 tons capacity. In the torpedo ladle, the pre-treatment is carried out. Another place could be when the metal is tapped from the blast furnace, the runner of the blast furnace, when the metal flows from the tape hole of the blast furnace to the ladle, then there is a long runner, and in that runner also the pre-treatment can be done. Now, the reagent consumption 5 kg is an approximate figure per ton minute. Reagent rate, that is injection rate, could be 45 kg per minute. hot metal temperature be around 1300 degree Celsius, and it takes around 15 to 20 minutes to attain, for example, 70 to 75% of desulfurization. Simultaneous removal of sulfur and phosphorus is also being adopted in certain practice. Now, having seen a short account of hot metal pretreatment, now we can come back and to our modern steel making practice, which we are dealing with the converter steel making. So, in the converter steel making, either one can charge hot metal or pre-treated hot metal. So, BOF operation, a BOF operation, it first of all consists of scrap plus hot metal. That means you charge scrap, top of it you charge hot metal, but the principal feed is the hot metal, which is 60 to 70% depending on the heat balance, and rest could be scrap. Takes around 2 to 3 minutes for charging. After charging scrap and hot metal, lance is brought into the position and oxygen is blown. Then oxygen is blown through a lance with multi-hole nozzles. Now, the blowing continues for 10 to 15 minutes, and once the blowing is over, sample is taken for analysis. Then the third point is analysis, and when the analysis conforms to the specified chemistry of the steel that is required to be produced, then the fourth step is automatically taping. And here caution is exercised that as far as possible slag free taping is done. Slag free taping is done. So, in all these BOF operation, right from charging to taping, it takes around approximately 60 minutes. That could be 50 minutes or maximum time is 60 minutes. Now, remember this particular time of charging to taping is independent of converter capacity. That is, whether we have 50 tons of converter or we have 400 tons of converter, the tape to tape time is approximately of this order of magnitude, and this is the beauty of converter steel making. Now, let us shortly see BOF shop layout. Now, typically what is required for the BOF shop layout? We require converter, hot metal ladle for charging, that is place for hot metal ladle for charging, then you require one ladle or two ladle for taping, then you require overhead for charging, then we require hood for the transport of the exit gases, and naturally we require the most important component, that is the lance. So, all these things, for example, converter, then on the top of it you have the additional you have the overhead for charging, ladle for hot metal, ladle for taping of steel, lance it comes through the hood to the converter, and these are all arranged vertically, and the total height of the shop you can imagine could be around 20 to 25 meter high. And say tilting, because for taping you have to tilt the converter, it is done by electric motors. The typical mass of the converter, though it depends on the capacity you can think of, mass of the converter means mass of the converter plus mass of the refractory lining plus mass of the metal, it may go to 800 to 1200 tons depending on the capacity of the converter. So, it is a very so it is really a shop worthwhile to look and visit the plant. Now, let us go to the BOF vessel design. BOF vessel design. Now, typically BOF vessel, it looks something this way. This one, this is a refractory lined vessel. This height is called HB. This dimension is diameter of the bath. This is the top lance fitted with nozzles, and this distance from here to the metal height is called lance distance. We will be using this lance distance very frequently. So, this is the lance distance HB, that is the bath height, dB, that is the bath diameter, and from here to here, this is HW, and HW is the working height of the converter, working height of converter. This is the refractory lining, to which I will just come in detail. Somewhere here taping hole is provided. This is the taping hole to tape the liquid steel, because you have to tilt it and for taping. So, this particular portion is the conical portion. And the height from here to here, that is the useful height. So, these are the typical dimensions of the converter. Now, the capacity of this converter, capacity, it varies from, let us say, 50 tons to as high as 400 tons or even 500 tons, I do not know, but I think 500 tons is also there. Inner volume, say inner volume upon mass of metal, that is equal to around 1 meter cube per ton. Then all converters, the bath height over bath diameter, which is called aspect ratio of the bath, it varies between 0.25 to 0.3. That means, converter steel making baths are shallow. That means, the capacity of the converter is increased by increasing the diameter rather than the height, because if you increase the height, then the shop becomes very tall, because you have to charge everything from the top. So, the capacity of the converter is increased by increasing the diameter of the bath rather than the height. Now, this point is very important, particularly when we consider top and bottom blowing. I will suggest that you please keep in mind, I may use this at that particular time. So, the shallow bath. Now, say total height. So, total height of the converter For example, 150 tons converter, it may vary around 9 meter or 9.1 meter from conical to the bottom. Now, say typically, for example, if the capacity is 160 ton, bath height is around 1.22 meter. I mean these dimensions are approximate, but you should know that these are the order of magnitude. Bath diameter is 4.8 meter. Working height of the converter is approximately 3 to 3.5 times bath height, which in this case is approximately equal to 3.5 to 3.8 meter. Now, the concept of working height is to provide the sufficient height to carry out the metallurgical work during refining of hot metal to steel. Shell diameter around say 6 meter, or well, it depends upon the converter capacity also. Now, as regard the refractory lining that is shown in this particular figure, the outside one you have the shell, and first you have the insulation lining, which is backed by the intermediate lining, and then you have the wear lining. That is, here in the wear lining, here you have the metal bath. This is say hot metal, this is slag. So, the wear lining is the most important part of the lining, because this is the lining which is subjected to wear, corrosion action, and so on so forth. Now, typically working lining, now I have shown here only one half of the converter because it is symmetrical. So, other half has the same type of refractory with the same dimension. So, working lining consists of tar dolomite or pitch bonded dolomite. Some plants are also using MgO-C brick, they are very good brick. About safety lining, which is also called insulation lining, we have used magnesite chromite or roasted dolomite. Then the intermediate lining that is consists of tar dolomite. Now, among these, the most important part of the lining is the wear lining, that is this particular lining. It must be resistance to corrosion for hot metal and slag. It should not be porous. It should be able to sustain high temperature, thermal shocks, and so on. The very important part of the converter steel making is the wear lining. That is the lining which is directly exposed to the action of slag and metal, and repair is done after every, for example, 1000 heats. Refractory consumption could be, depending on the practice, 1.5 to 2 kg per ton. The lining life, in fact, it depends upon temperature, slag composition, then method of charging. They are the small factors, but cumulative they make around 2 kg per ton consumption of lining. Then formation of skull at the conical portion of the converter. So, these are all the so called the refractory part of it. Now, let us see the lance. Lance in fact is the heart of converter steel making. it is 8 to 10 meter long. The diameter of the lance, it varies from 20 centimeter to as high as 25 centimeter, and it is water cooled. It is water cooled. Water cooling at the rate of 50 to 70 meter cube per hour at 5 to 6 kilogram per centimeter square pressure. The lance is fitted with multi-hole nozzles. Now, number of nozzles and the diameter bear a relationship with the converter capacity, and in fact, the relation is root n, with n is the number of nozzles into throat diameter, that is equal to 7.43 into 10 to the power minus 3 converter capacity raised to the power 0.446, where n number of nozzle, dn diameter of nozzle, diameter of each nozzle, mt is the converter capacity. Now, for example, if I take 150 tons capacity, then dn from this equation it comes out to be equal to 35 millimeter when n is equal to 4. So, the nozzles are Laval type of nozzle, and the nozzle looks something this way. They are the Laval nozzles. So, this diameter is called the d star n, I put d star n, and this diameter is 35 millimeter, and they are designed, and the exit diameter is around 49 millimeter. The angle of this divergence is around 4 to 6 degree. This diameter is around 50 millimeter diameter. This is 49 millimeter diameter, this is 35 millimeter diameter. So, this is how a Laval nozzle looks. Now, the 4-hole lance, it looks something like this. For example, if this is the lance tip, this is the center point. So, this is on the right side, I have shown you a 4-hole nozzle which is fitted at the bottom of the lance. Now, this 1, 2, 3, 4, they are the symmetrically placed nozzle, and the angle of inclination of each nozzle with the axis of the lance is around 10 to 12 degree, and the idea of that particular angle is to provide a jet which is non-coalescing in nature downstream the lance. Now, the function of the nozzle is, for example, supply and distribution of oxygen, produce a gaseous jet, to induce bath agitation, and to produce droplets. So, that is why the nozzles are fitted at the bottom of the lance to inject oxygen at a very high pressure. Another important feature of the lance is that these lances are water cooled, and the bottom of the lance which is fitted with the nozzle is having the copper tip, and the water is cooled up to the copper tip. If not, then the tip will melt. So, a very strong water cooling is necessary for this type of lances. Now, let me go to the charge calculation. We go to the charge calculation. In fact, for charge calculation one has to do material balance. and material balance input must be equal to output. So, all inputs are collected on one side and all outputs are connected or rather collected on the other side, then the balance of various elements are made. For example, say iron in hot metal plus iron in scrap, that is equal to iron in steel plus iron in slag. Then carbon in hot metal plus carbon in scrap, that is equal to carbon in steel plus carbon in waste gases. Similarly, silicon in hot metal plus silicon in scrap if it is there, that is silicon in steel plus silicon in slag, and so on. You can make the balances of each element, and these balances can be solved for knowing the quantity of the each input and output. Now, let me illustrate by a simple example. For example, I take, this is the box where I am putting my input. Now, say input consists of hot metal, and the hot metal is say having 0.8% silicon, 0.2% phosphorus, 0.25% manganese and 4% carbon and 94.75% iron. I am adding here scrap, which is 0.1% carbon and 99.9% iron, and I am adding around 15% of scrap. I am producing steel with the composition say carbon 0.1% and rest iron, which is 99.9%. I am producing slag, which is having CaO 54%, FeO 18%, MnO 2.8% and the basicity ratio CaO upon SiO2 of course on wet percent, that is equal to 3.5, and the gases which I am producing, they are having 15% CO2 and 85% carbon monoxide. Now, I am using 1000 kg hot metal. Of course, I am adding flux also. So, now let us calculate amount of steel, amount of steel, amount of slag, amount of oxygen and amount of waste gases. Amount of flux can also be calculated. If the composition of the flux is given, then for example, most of the time lime is added. So, lime in flux it enters to lime in slag, and from that balance amount of flux can also be calculated. Now, let me illustrate by this. Say for calculation of the amount of steel, for example, I do the iron balance 1000 kg hot metal, 150 kg of scrap. If I do the iron balance, then what I do it now, let me put it, say X is amount of steel and Y is amount of slag. Y is amount of slag. So, I do the iron balance. So, iron balance will give me 947.5 plus 150 into 0.999, that is equal to 0.999 x plus 18 by 100 into y into 56 upon 72. Now, I do manganese balance. Now, if I do manganese balance, then immediately I get 2.5, that is equal to 0.025 into 56 upon 71 y. I solve both the equation, I get y is equal to 126.7 kg, which is the amount of slag that will be produced, and amount of steel that will come 1080.68 kg steel will be produced. That is how you will be solving the material balance or charge calculation. Then now, in order to calculate the amount of exit gas, what I do the carbon balance. So, if I do the carbon balance, the carbon in hot metal plus carbon in scrap, that is equal to carbon in steel plus carbon in waste gases. I write for you carbon in hot metal plus carbon in scrap, that is equal to carbon in steel plus carbon in waste gases. So, if you do all these balances, then we can find out the carbon which is gone in waste gases, that will come 39.07 moles. From here the percentage of CO and CO2 is given. So, we can find out the amount of CO2 and CO. So, the exit gas you can simple calculate will come out to be 73 meter cube at 1 atmosphere and 273 Kelvin. Now, we can calculate now the amount of oxygen required. The oxygen required, silicon to SiO2, carbon to CO2, carbon to CO, Mn to MnO, and all these oxidation reactions they are to be written, and accordingly you find out the amount of oxygen that is required, how much amount of element is being oxidized. So, if I write immediately the element oxidized, and then oxygen required in kg moles. Say I oxidize 8 kg silicon, 2 kg phosphorus, 2.5 kg manganese, 5.86 kg carbon goes to CO2, and 33.21 kg carbon goes to CO, and 17.66 kg iron goes to FeO. Now, the oxygen required will be here 0.29, here it will be 0.0058, here it will be 0.027, here it will be 0.488, here it will be 1.384, here it will be 0.158. If I sum total it, I will get 2.3528 kg moles of oxygen. Now, 1 kg mole is 22.4 meter cube at 1 atmosphere and 273 Kelvin. So, oxygen required you can simply get by multiplying 2.3528 by 22.4. So, you will be getting around 52.70 at 1 atmosphere and 273 Kelvin meter cube. This is the oxygen required in order to convert 1 ton of hot metal to steel.